Good morning, folks. Jay here with First Direct Corp with another video presentation. Today, I'm going to be presenting a custom CSV file importer to import records into GoldMine. Um, GoldMine does have a import wizard that allows you to import primary contacts and custom data into custom fields. You can import one single primary email for each primary contact and a primary website. But Goldmine does not allow you to import additional contacts. It does not allow you to import into details. It does not allow you to create history or pending calls or any other areas into Goldmine. You can only import contact records, primary record that you might see on a screen. And I'll show you that real quick, just so you can get a sense of what that looks like. So there's an import wizard into GoldMine that you can import from a CSV. Normally, you would have to choose your CSV file. And in this case, this CSV file that I'm importing, it is double quote delimited. And I'll show you that here in a second. So initially, you see when I hit that file, it finds it, and these are each one of the headers in that CSV file. What you would typically have to do is double click on each one of these labels and relabel your label and go down each one of these and say, hey, this is the contact and this is the phone and this is the email. And again, Goldmine will only allow you to import one email, a primary email for each record. Once you've gone down your list, so if you have 50 or 20 or 30 fields, you're looking at a good 20 or 30 minutes of work to go ahead and relabel each one of these labels for each of the fields that you want to import. And that doesn't even describe formatting your Excel document. That's just this import wizard going through that list. That process alone of going through and relabeling those labels can take anywhere 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the number of fields. Once you've relabeled all your fields, you're going to hit next. And now you're going to map each field. So this is company. I want it to go to the company field in Goldmine. This is the contact field in my CSV, and I want that to go to the contact field in Goldmine. And you would go through each field and map them out until you got to the very bottom of your file and have them all matched up. You can preview the result of each field, and you can see here it's saying C1 underscore contact. Well, that is the first row in my CSV. You can see there's the secondary contact, the third, the fourth, the fifth. So I'm looking at the previous records. Well, I obviously don't want to import that record. So now I have to remember to go up to this profile options and tell Goldmine to ignore that first record on import. There is some very limited duplicate matching, so that if I can say, hey, match on company, and I can tell Goldman, hey, if the company or exists, don't import it. Or if it does exist or it does match, update it. So there's lots of options there on duplicate matching. I typically do not advise duplicate matching because it's fairly limited, and you'd almost always want to dupe on multiple fields, like company and contact, not just one. There could potentially be two companies in your record with the same company name, or two contacts with the same name, but they're technically not the same. So I typically don't advise using Goldmine's import match duping. Goldmine has the ability to dedupe and merge, purge, and find duplicates using multiple fields within the compounds of Goldmine itself. So that's something you would do after the fact. Once you've got all your data formatted, there are even some properties. You can basically double click on each field and say, hey, convert this to all proper case, convert it to uppercase, convert to lowercase, etc. So there's all sorts of options within each field. Maybe you're getting your data and all the data is in uppercase, and I want to make sure I go through each field and make sure it's all proper case, so I can convert every field that I need to proper case. Once that's done, you're going to hit next. You can save that import profile for later use and then begin importing your records. Again, with the many customers that I've worked with, on average, you're looking at about 30 to 40 minutes of time to import a CSV file. So I've trained a lot of customers over the years. I've shown a lot of people how to do the import. And again, that doesn't even go over the formatting of the Excel document and formatting the columns, relabeling the columns in the CSV to match up to the fields in Goldmine. If your data has commas in it, if your CSV has commas in it, you'll notice one of my fields here, the company field, has a comma in it, Western Energy, comma. Well, if you're going to try to import that into Goldmine, you have to format you have to do something about that. You either have to remove your commas, which a lot of people do, or you actually have to format your data. You have to do a custom format, and that format type is that you have to type in where it says type here. You have to type that out and go backslash quote at double quote backslash. So you basically, I'm sorry, no, backslash and then double quote. So it's backslash double quote at backslash double quote. And that's basically telling Excel to double quote every cell in the document. I'll hit OK here and you'll see every cell is now double quote delimited. Um, and that's really the best thing to do, but you have to remember those steps. You have to do that, and that allows you to import the data into GoldMine using commas. Another option I use is sometimes I format my CSV as a pipe delimited versus a comma delimited file, and that works pretty well as well. Then you don't have to go through that extra step of formatting if you don't remember that that trick in Excel. I'm just going to hit a Control Z here and undo that because this is a file I'm going to use for my custom importer. So what I want to show you here, and I'm just going to go over this, is that these first columns here, these first few columns here that you see, these are all what we call primary contact fields. So this is a primary company, the contact, the phone, primary email, and a secondary email. So I want to import two emails for this primary contact, for each one of these primary contacts. And you'll notice here I have a test record that doesn't have a phone, that doesn't have an email. So I'm importing just a contact with no email. I have a city, I have the state, I have zip, the phone 2, a phone 3, and a phone 1. So it doesn't really even matter the order of these fields as long as the C1 underscore. That is what's important, C1 underscore. That tells me when I import this using my tool that I want all this to go to the contact one, the primary contact's phone, the primary contact's address, the key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field. I have some custom fields. I can have any number of custom fields. Here I've only got 3. I want these to go to the custom fields U territory, U status, and U source NM with those respective values. I now have a detail. GoldMine's import wizard again does not allow you to import details, but in my tool, I've built it out where I can have a detail. So D1 just means I'll have one detail and I want it to go to this field in that detail. I want the detailed contact name to be password. I don't have anything in the title field. The reference, the concept ref field will be GoldMine. So it's a password for GoldMine. I want the notes of that GoldMine to be test. I want the address 1 and the address 2 field to have these values. And finally, I have an additional contact. I'll do this in a different color. I'll just use a blue here. So here I have an additional contact, the contact's name, the deer, the title. There's a concept reference, a reference field, a primary phone. There is a fax field, but the fax is actually now mobile, the mobile phone in GoldMine. I'll show you that when we import this. And again, each one of these additional contacts, in this case, they're all the same name, test test, but they'll all have their own email, multiple emails, 1, 2 email. Each one has 2 emails except for this record. There's no additional record being imported for this test record at the bottom. The other thing to notice is that each one of these emails is unique, right? I can't import multiple emails. In other words, a single email, test 7, whatever, cannot exist between this and any other record. So they're all unique emails. So I've gone out and made sure that they're all unique. If it was trying to import email that already exists, it will not allow you to do that. So I'm actually going to copy that one down and actually try to import this email to this test I'm going to do this test 3. I'm going to make sure that's unique. So test 3, I'm going to try to import this email, and obviously it's not going to work. It's not going to allow me to do that, but I'm going to try, and we'll see what happens with my import tool. Again, if I want to add a secondary email for each additional, I have the option of doing that. And ideally, if you have 3 emails, we could extend this functionality. We could add some additional functionality to pull the 3rd email if you needed to for each record, but that's not common. I have a lot of customers that have had multiple emails that they want to import for primaries or additionals. And then we have the extension field, and then address 1, address 2, address 3, city, state, zip, country, and the notes. So those are my records. I'm going to go ahead and just save this file again. I'm just going to go ahead and let me do this. Let me just hit save here. Now, my custom importer. Let's take a look at it. What does it look like? Well, it is a self-hosted web app. So on my computer, I have an IIS installation. I'll just go ahead and show you that. I have IIS. It takes about 15, 20 minutes to install IIS on your computer, but IIS is a web server, right? It is a application for Windows for hosting your own website. So in this app, I've got my own little importer tool. I've got this little importer tool that allows me to do this import. So I have a couple of other apps in here, an email scrubber for deleting emails, etc. I have a bunch of apps that I'm working on. But basically, here it is, localhost. Localhost is my PC. I should be able to do this as well. I don't know if it's going to work, but J's dash PC is the name of my computer. Yeah, PC, not CS. J's PC. Yeah, so Jay's PC is the name of my computer, but ideally localhost. So what that basically allows you to do is say, hey, if I want this to be set up on a network where I want other users on my network to access this app, yes, we could do that. But for me, I'm the only one. There's nobody else here in my office. It's just my own. So it's localhost for me. It is set up using a self hosted secure SSL certificate. So it's a self signed, which is why you're getting this not secure. It is using a certificate. It's just saying it's not valid because I didn't pay for this. I didn't buy a self sign a certificate. Is not. It's just something local, right? It's encrypted, but it's the browser saying, hey, this is not secure. Well, yes, it is secure. It's just not trusted. Why is it not trusted? Because I didn't pay for it through a certificate authority like Thought or all the other SSL providers that are out there, GoDaddy, etc. It's my own. I created it through IIS. IIS has the ability to create its own SSL certificates, right? So if I go into here, certificates, is it up here? It's up here, um, server certificates, right? I created my own certificate. It isn't a certificate. It's just not trusted. So a lot of people don't know how that works. Um, and then obviously on my computer, if I just take this out, right? If I take this out, I'm going to get to the root of my IIS. Well, that's the host, and I've obviously gone out and created my own importer file. So here it is. I'll go ahead and log out. There is a login, so I can log in with my username and password. So there is a user account. It is kind of secure in a sense, in the fact that I must have a user account to log in and access this CSV file. But here's all you have to do, or anyone would have to do, is you take that little CSV file template that I have with all the C1 underscore and D1 underscore. You use those headers. You're going to choose your file. Here I have import file 2. It's going to grab all the data. This app is automatically selected all of the rows that I want to import. And if I scroll over here, you'll see here's all that data. Test 3 with test 7. This email obviously is not going to get imported. If I wanted to search for a particular contact, let's see, Barlow and Harley. So if I do a Barlow, there we go, Barlow and McCarthy, I can do a search and say, hey, I don't want to import all of them. I just want to import that one, right? I could do that. If I take this out, it's going to go back and there's all my records. Again, I can uncheck, I can check all, I can pick whatever ones I need to import. Maybe I don't want to import them all. If I scroll all the way out, all the rows or columns are already imported. All I have to do is hit this little import file. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Boom. And now in the background, that data has been submitted to a processing script, which is going through each row and importing primary contact, emails, additional contacts, the details, the additional contacts, multiple emails. It's doing some duplicate checking on email address to make sure the emails don't already exist in the database. In GoldMine, you cannot import email addresses multiple times. They're not going to be associated with multiple records. So the import is actually saying, hey, does this email already exist? If it doesn't exist, create it, etc. So it's gone through. And here in about a second or two, it's going to come back with a result. It's going to show us those import results. And there we are. So they were all successful. Let's go down here to the bottom, and you can see error. Email already exists with a matching email test at test.com. So As I said, it's not going to allow us to do that. So it's gone ahead and imported and created all the records. But if there was an error adding anything, if there was an error importing a custom field or detail, it's going to error it back to us and says, "Hey, an email. This email was not, error. Email already exists." So I could go look for that email in the record, right? I could copy this, go into my GoldMine, say, "Oh, really? There was an email already exists. Let me go find it." But what I want to show you now is all those emails that I just imported. So I'm looking for all the records that were created today. Today is February 21st. And here they all are. So here's all my records. Let's look at this test record. Let's go look at that. Test. There was no email, as I said. Here's the additional contact, test 3. Email address didn't get added. So there's that test record that got imported with the details, password, GoldMine, notes. Now this says email and campaign, but if we double click on this, you can see here the notes says test. And if we look at the info, it says email and campaign, but in the setup, the email is actually address 1 and address 2. So these are the fields on the right. This is the title field. This is the link account field. This is the country field. The number here indicates how many characters that field can hold. So address 1, 2, and 3 can hold 40 characters, which is why I imported into those versus something like extension, right? I wanted to import large amount of data, so I needed to choose these fields here because they have up to 40 characters that can be stored in those tabs, in those fields, in the details. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Just go ahead and delete that record. Go back to my search center. So let's look at another record then. Let's look at this Blaster Swiss Lube record. So I've got this Blaster Swiss Lube test record that I created. This is all fictional info. That's a fictional address. The phone number. There's the email. Let's look at the emails. So there's an additional contact email. Let me just click on that. There's the um, that's the primary email there. I've got a test 53 email address. I've got a test 5. Those are all associated with the additional contact. So you notice when I click on this, the contact here is test. It is not the primary contact, Karsten Withuser. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let's go look at the additional contact. So you're seeing the additional contact twice because the email address is being shown, right? This additional contact test 6, test with the title test 6. It is not in there twice. He just has 2 email addresses. So because there's 2 emails, the record shows twice here. I'll prove that to you by going up here and removing one of the tests. I'll remove test 53. I'll delete that one. And if I go off and come back to the test, you'll see he's only in there once. But because I had signed 2 emails to him, the record shows up twice. A lot of people get confused by that and try to delete the additional contact, and they actually remove a contact. It's not duplicated. It's duplicated because you're showing the email address. GoldMine added this email address to the additional contact screen several years ago, and that's become an issue for a lot of customers when that happens. Obviously, there's the detail, and if we go through each one of those records, same idea. Multiple emails, ACB test. There's a primary. This other is assigned to the primary. So there it is. That's your import wizard. So if you have a need to import additional information besides just a primary contact, a primary, maybe you need multiple emails. Maybe you need to import multiple primaries and additionals. Maybe you want to import into the details. I could have gone ahead and scheduled a call. I could have set up the script to schedule a call after the records were created. I could have round robin assigned a sales rep for each one that was imported. There's all sorts of things that I could have done with that import, but I wanted to show that the functionality is there to be able to do those sort of things. I can't tell you how many customers have said over the years, hey, can I add an additional contact when I import? No, you'd have to add them all as single primaries and then merge them to be able to have a primary and an additional. A lot of work to do that out of the box with GoldMine. I've obviously written a very simple, basic CSV file importer that allows you to now have some advanced functionality. So if you do need something like that or have an interest, please do give us a call here at First Direct, 845 221 3800. Thank you.